Greetings and welcome to the 37th episode of SwagHer's Theories and Thoughts. I don't know where I was going with that. With your hostess, Arnya and
Fancy.
So what's going on, Fancy? How are you doing today?
Tired. Not really tired. I think I've been having these migraines. It's like, I don't know if you all read about I don't know if they call it a heat bubble taking place right now. They might have just ended, but I know like within the area of Louisiana, we've already been under heat advisory. So it's been like really hot, and I've just been having this migraine for the past 2 days now.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, but look, and I'm also distracted. But other than that, I'm actually good. But I'm just saying, so tonight I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow. I don't want to be overstressing myself. But how are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to, I forgot to lower my music so I can post the thing. It's just, you know how that goes. So we can share the post. One day we'll have someone do that for us on both our phones. That's somebody should have put on our page. Nevertheless, I'm good. You know how you have a taste for something? I had a taste for apple cobbler and ice cream. And Walmart didn't have it. And while I was at Walmart, I caught myself looking up Albertsons, and Albertsons didn't have it either. So I wound up getting, you know, one of those little box apple pies.
The dollar box. Come on.
Yeah, I wound up getting that and some ice cream, but I didn't have a chance to eat it yet. So I'm excited about eating that when we get done.
I'm excited about getting back to work, but I've never actually tried those. So I was gonna ask you how it tastes because I see them, but I never really know if it's gonna be, you know, like how fresh it's gonna be. I guess because of the way they be sitting, but I know they be changing out. So still, it's just kind of the way the box. Maybe it's the box is vibrant.
I have I got it. I don't think I ever had one before. I actually put it in the oven. I'm gonna put it in the oven and let it warm up a little bit. So we'll see from there. So on to news. Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted some apple cobbler, but I couldn't find it. And I was mad about it. And I was about to get a Dutch apple pie, but then I was like, I'm not about to get a Dutch apple pie and have that big old box up in here looking at me crazy.
Yeah, I would definitely smash it. Because I think I prefer the pies better than the cobblers. I don't know what the difference is, but to me, it seems like the pies be a little bit sweeter or something. Something be different to me.
I don't know. The Dutch apple pie has the little crust on top and everything.
With the crosses or the other?
The other one. It's the Dutch. The Dutch has the crust.
Oh, okay, so I don't understand it. Okay, but I get what you're saying now. Okay, so in that instance, I prefer the kind with the crosses.
Oh,
I'm still trying to post my thing. I'm sorry. That's why I'm like, I keep looking at. I do hate when I keep doing it, but it just.
No, you're fine. I just did it myself, so we both even. That's why I was over here doing it with my phone in my hand. You guys, if somebody wants to take on that task, that when we're on, you can take my password and go through it and do it for me. Post on my page. Anywho, on to our news story. Rest in peace, Naya Rivera. Her body was found yesterday in the lake. As you guys know, was it Saturday or Sunday? I think it was Sunday. Was it Sunday? Saturday or Sunday? Her son was found on the boat, and he said that mommy went for a swim. They haven't said foul play. A lot of people started saying mental health, and that goes into what we're talking about today, mental health. But somebody was like, yeah, she had she did consider suicide. I don't mean that this was suicide. I had people go back and forth on different people's posts about that. But rest in peace to her, prayers to her family and her friends. At one point, they had a picture of her mom with her hands up raised and everything. It's just a sad thing. You know, they always say that parents shouldn't bury their children. So just a sad situation. You have anything?
Yeah, it is. I really care for death, or like, I don't know, it just seems like it's so much death as of lately. And then just so many celebs or actors and actresses and so on. I did wonder about like the mental health aspect of things, but I said I wasn't going to comment on it. But so you just mentioned it, because I didn't know if anybody else had really been looking at it that way. It seemed like most people were just kind of thinking that it was some type of accident, but that is just really sad. And I'm just like, gosh, I just keep wondering, like, will we ever really know what took place, really, like with the son getting back and so on. But it is really sad. And I had no idea. Like, I had only really knew of her because I didn't watch Glee, and I didn't realize like she was the little girl from the shows in the past, the like Family Matters and stuff. And that just all that made it hit home, because I always, watching that show, I always thought she was so cute. Like, oh, that's, what I mean? Like, as a little kid and you're watching it and you're like, oh, I want to look like her. And I had actually a little bit older than her, I think. But it was just, it hit home a lot more. Or I guess I felt it a little more once I began to like really see who she was. And I did not know like the whole work. And so I looked it up and I was just like, wow, she's been in a lot of movies. She's written books. I didn't even realize all of that. So
I kind of learned about her with Big Sean. With the situation with Big Sean, and then she wrote a book about it or something like that. So yeah, she had a big body of work, and she can sing, honey. She can sing. So rest in peace to her. On to our next subject, Red Table Talk. We have to talk about it. Red Table Talk. Jada finally brought herself to the table. For those who don't know, August did an interview with Angela Yee, and it can be found on YouTube, where he discussed his new album, which is good. His new album is so good, but let me tell y'all, his song "Sincerely" to his nieces. Have your tissue ready. Have your tissue ready. And he talked about his documentary. I told someone was like, well, how's the documentary? I was like, it's so New Orleans. Like, being from New Orleans, he is so New Orleans. Like, it's so New Orleans. Walking down the street with a bunch of folks, just it was the epitome of New Orleans.
But what is the so the documentary is out. Has it been out, or was it released at the same time as the album, or what?
Mm-hmm. It was released at the same time as the album. Yeah. It was released. It's on. Huh?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, it's on YouTube as well. You just look it up. And in the middle of the documentary, different things, he plays a song. So on the documentary, he doesn't say who it is. He just say he had a love and it ended and some other stuff. But on Angela Yee's interview, he said, I don't even think he said Jada's name. He said that he was in love with her, and then I want to say he just said Will, and we all just knew who he was talking about. He did not speak derogatory. He did say that him and Will had an understanding, that Will basically gave his blessing. That's what he said. They had a man-to-man talk about it. On Red Table Talk, Jada actually said that they were separated. Now, a lot of people are going back and forth on were they separated, do they have open marriage? The thing is this, I think they do have an open marriage, but if you think back around a lot of the time, especially the beginning of their relationship, a lot of things were saying that they were divorcing. So that's something to think about. A lot of people are saying that she took advantage of him. If you listen to August and August talks about being, and this is just me just, he
talks about what?
He talks about being a playboy. He talks about dealing with different women. I think there's the Leon area on the thing. But he talks about dealing with different women and kind of never being in love, just dealing with them or whatever. And I told, my post on my Facebook was, August is a typical New Orleans man. He felt played. And then he was like, I got to get up out of this. And then he started his healing. And to me, he started his healing. And then in that instance, that's when he was like, well, I can talk about whatever. This is my story. This is how I feel. And it wasn't to be malicious or just air them out. It was more or less, I'm telling my story. This is the stuff that's been going on. But a lot of people said that August was taken advantage of. A lot of people feel like he was taken advantage of. A lot of people feel that you know, how is she messing with her son's friend? That's kind of always tricky too, dealing with your son's friend. Now, to be transparent, I've dealt with someone that was majorly younger than me, like she has, and I didn't take advantage of them. Hell, most young boys like older women. I'm seeing that a lot, even more now. And when it comes to them, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say that she took advantage of him. I think he knew exactly what he was getting into, and that's what he wanted. He probably had then lust over her, and that was his homeboy's mother. But I don't think he even looked at it as that. Your thoughts?
Well, okay, so I have obviously I haven't heard the documentary, but I do like August, and I did intend to check it out. I just had to update my music subscription, so I've been trying to look for some new stuff, so that's why I'm adding to it. As far as like, I didn't watch the Red Table Talk because I cannot watch stuff if I've already saw 1,000 posts about it. Like, I just that's why I don't watch a lot of shows. I can basically tell the storyline and who did what from a post, then I kind of go with that. But I did watch the clip, so I'm not just like totally, blind to what was going on. But in my opinion, like, I saw the debate about him being taken advantage of. I personally, my son is about to be 21. I'm not about to date too much younger than me to begin with, but I do kind of understand in some ways, just like I think when it is a significant enough age gap, I do believe that oftentimes there is a sense of that. And then at the same time, I'm not just like, oh, how a lot of people have just been like, she just took advantage of him. Y'all shouldn't even be so. More so, what I was just kind of looking at initially until they had the talk was what he said about Will gave his blessings. Even when he did the interview with Angela, like, I looked at, like, a lot of people was like, oh, he just wasted a lot of time saying nothing about nothing. And to me, I didn't take it that way. I think that he tried to choose his words very, very wisely, but he also seemed to have more of a spiritual sense in things. And I feel like a lot of people did that. Even with the whole being hurt thing, I do believe he was hurt. And at the same time, I was just like looking at a lot of women that was like, oh, he this and that. And I was like, most women have been in similar situations, and you off of it. I mean, did your album sell a little more or something? Did you have something to do with that pain? So, and a part of me did almost wonder for a minute, he was only discussing it because his album was was being released at that time. But then once I saw the little clip from the talk, I was like, okay, Will don't quite seem like he gave his blessings. But at the same time, again, I have always thought, just, from the rumors, that they did have an open marriage. And really, it's just like, it's not any of our business. I do believe, like, that once people, I'm one of those type of people that really question how many years can I really spend with a person? And while I do respect marriage, I also respect the fact that if people want to have an open marriage, then that's them, because people get bored. I can get bored with you within a year, if not less. So that's just me knowing myself. And I think a lot of times people don't want to be real with themselves. You want to be, it's supposed to be like this. But until you're actually in that situation, then is it really, when you really have that type of fame and so on, does the same thing still interest you? So I'm just kind of like, that's their business overall. But I don't really feel like Jada, and I really like Jada, but I kind of feel like she wasn't just keeping it all the way 100. I looked at her word choice when she mentioned the part, like, and it was during the time, the whole entanglement thing, basically. I think it was the entanglement word itself that just kind of like, I was like, okay, Jada bullshit, but I respect it because then, like somebody else pointed out, when you look at the type of business deals and so on that these people have in place, they may not need to have all their information out there, So I can understand why they would want to keep it more private. So again, I just think it's their business. You know, I hope that August heals. I did send him a little shout out, but you know, after I started reading most stuff, I was like, you know what? He never came to my inbox. That's okay. Like I might, but other than that, I'm just like, and look, and I just talked about dating younger, and then here I was, well, look at that. I had to just do a self check right there. But I have always thought August was cute, but I don't know how old he is. So, but yeah,
he's 20. Oh, I don't know how old. He's not that young anymore. He's like 20. He's about 27, maybe. And I agree with you that it is his business, their business. And if they decide that they want an open marriage, let them have an open marriage. But just be honest, be real about your shit. That's just how I feel. Like, be real about your shit. Be real about if that's what you want to do, because it goes back to, why do we care about who people sleeping with? You know, who's my girl? With Junie, her mom. Oh, I can't think of her name.
Taylor. Did you say
Tiana?
Okay.
She wrote a song about having a threesome.
Oh.
I ain't never listened to it, but she did. I just feel like it shouldn't matter who nobody's sleeping with. And you smiling? Is our guest in?
Yeah.
Okay, because let me tell you, you be like, I did not want them to wait. So you be moving around. It's like,
I'm sorry, look, I was trying to pull up the sponsor and then also tell him that I see him in the chat, but he's there, he's waiting.
Oh, okay.
But I'll let you finish.
No, I'm good. That's my outlook on the whole thing. I just feel like Will and Jada should have just kept it real. I felt like Jada, like you said, she wasn't real about it. Will was like, just say what it was, Jada, like. I felt like Will was hurt. One of my friends was like, he definitely cried. I sent you her post. He definitely cried before that. But another girl gave a perspective of Will is an actor.
Oh,
yeah, and all those, she was like, he didn't get all those acclaims just not being a good actor. So y'all think Will is hurt, and Will ain't hurt. And I'm
like, Will was sitting somewhere with an onion. I'm just now really thinking about it, because I was also, I was at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, did Will smoke before this? That was my thought. Then I was like, nah, he ain't got that relaxed type of look. So, but yeah.
But I mean, so it brings you, you know, it could have been, even at the end, we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life. Like, how y'all rehearsed that? Y'all rehearsed that. So maybe it was like, okay, Will, you have to look distraught, and this is how we gonna play this. So I don't know. Hell, people are like, why we worrying about their business? Where they put their business out here? So, but the whole dynamic, some people are like, they've been Will, they've been Jada, and they've been August. Hell, I've been a couple of them too. So,
true.
Moving on. Who's our sponsor?
All right, so our sponsor for the evening, our first sponsor is Dvine Systems Georgia. We've had them before, but also it is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So I just wanted to make certain that we also tag them in again. And then also our guest tonight is also a PhD candidate. So Dvine Systems Georgia was founded with the hope that we have one life, and it is of the utmost importance that we all reach our potential of simply existing. Their goal is to help you uncover your true potential and lead a life that's worth celebrating. So you all can learn more about them at www.georgia.com. That's DSGEORGIA.com. And also follow the owner, Glendora Dvine, on Instagram, and her I gotta move my screen, is at Glendora, GLENDORA Dvine, DVINE. So no I in between the D and the V.
I like
it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, and also Glendora is one of our clients. So if you all need mental health professionals, you know, to speak on something, then you all can reach out to us. But let me go ahead now, bring in our guest.
How you doing?
Hello.
How do you pronounce your name?
Cyrell Roberson.
Cyrell. Because we were like, how you say that? I got one of them names, so.
I tried to message him in the chat. Thank you for coming. Wait, yeah, actually, Cyrell, can you hear Arnya?
I can hear you guys.
Okay. I just wanted to make certain. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself or introduce yourself to our audience?
For sure, absolutely. So first, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. So I can tell you a little bit about myself, but overall I'm a psychologist, but I wear a few different hats as a psychologist. So I'm both a researcher and a clinician. I'm completing my PhD, finishing up my dissertation in psychology at UC Berkeley. But I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Most of my family, is still there. And also graduated from Xavier University down in New Orleans with a degree in psychology. So I practice, here in California at a clinic where we work with all ages, where we do, psychoeducational assessments. So that's particularly, working with and diagnosing and assessing for learning differences. We also do neuropsychological evaluations and then, of course, therapy. And then I'm also the psychologist at pre-K to 8th grade school, where I'm essentially responsible for the well-being and the mental health of just over 400 students and 90 faculty and staff. And I am also the founder of a healthcare technology startup. So we are working on developing a product that should be launching at the end of this year that essentially helps to make healthcare, both mental health and medical health, much more accessible, particularly for marginalized and underserved groups of people.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I went like this because I'm originally from New Orleans, and Fancy lives in Baton Rouge. So what got you into the mental health field? Was there something that just one day you were like, you know what, I'm interested in mental health, or was it something, or was it just from a kid you were like, I'm doing mental health?
Yeah, no, it definitely was not as a kid. I went through so many different options as far as careers that I wanted to pursue, and it wasn't until undergrad, Xavier, when I was attending Xavier, that I actually took an intro to psychology course. I didn't start out as a psychology major. I initially just wanted to be a pediatrician, or either a pediatrician or a neonatologist, but I realized that I didn't really enjoy being hospitals or doctor's offices. So it wasn't until I actually took, a psychology intro course, and I kind of fell in love with it from there. I felt like it, provided all of the theories that helped to explain all of the questions that I had about how people think, why people do what they do, and how they behave. So it was really eye-opening, and it just helped to explain a lot of the questions that I had. And from there on, I learned a lot about, the statistics that are staggering, particularly for Black and brown populations of people, as far as, being overrepresented in needs and actually not having an under-resource, so not having access to the resources that they actually need in order to treat the issues that come up for them. So that, is one of the main reasons. And I can say a little bit about the statistics if that would be helpful.
Okay. Can you turn your volume up a little bit louder if possible?
Yes. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm sorry. I know a lot of what you're saying, but I'm just like, I know that our audience also, I want them to be able to hear, what you're saying, because I know that you have a lot to share.
For sure. No problem.
So you were saying that basically, as you began to see how Black people were underrepresented, you were saying, or not receiving all of the care or assistance that they should be receiving. And so, like, what was the next step for you from there then? I mean, like, you were already in college though, and you had already began to take classes, but then you began to see this once out in the field, or was this actually while you were taking your classes?
Yep, so it was more so in my coursework, and then from there I, pursued different research opportunities while I was in undergrad to figure out and to kind of determine which route I wanted to take, because there are so many different, areas within the field of psychology that one can go into. So I needed to figure out if I wanted to just be a researcher or only be a clinician. So I needed to figure out which route I wanted to take. So from there, that led to more opportunities to actually see on the ground the disparities. And then also from a research side too, just the more I learned, the more I realized that, this is incredibly important work, and that, it's so necessary. And we need more people who look like me, who look like us, to work in this field in order to make mental health much more accessible for people.
So, our topic for tonight is Black men and mental health. Right now, you hear a lot of people saying defund the police, and I didn't understand what it meant at first. And it was saying, have psychiatrists, have counselors and therapists go out and talk to these people. So, what role does that play, mental health, in the defund the police, Black Lives Matter movement, like that whole situation?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So when folks talk about defund the police, it really comes down to decreasing the amount of funding that is allocated for to policing individuals, and increasing the amount of funds that are allocated for mental health services, for for social support, for wraparound services for children, for families, so that we are working much more upstream and helping to not only criminalize folks and to punish them for the mistakes that they may make, but also to reduce the likelihood of them doing so, right? To give them the services and the support that they need in order, in a much more holistic and comprehensive way.
Okay. So what role does that play in well, I guess you did answer that with the Black Lives Matter movement. So I know it's important, but do you think that is necessary, like your own opinion? Would it help?
Yeah, absolutely. So particularly related to, the Black Lives Matter movement. So, one of the demands that this movement is really asking for and calling for is to decrease the violence that impacts our community, right? And in order to do that, we really have to begin to shift the focus away from policing people of color and more towards supporting them, right? And to including more access to resources in our communities. So for that reason, I absolutely do think it's incredibly valuable that we begin to shift the narrative and the focus of the conversation and the intention from policing to protecting, and also to supporting communities that need it the most.
And I was trying to capture that quote. I like that what you said, support, like switch from the policing, wait, how did you put it? From policing to supporting, which I think is a really, I think that's really good, because I already said I kind of agree more with it, but especially being that you're in California, it seems like, you all have more opportunity for those type of ventures. But I don't know, is it also being called for like within anywhere close to you? Like, is that a possibility of that happening?
Definitely. So, absolutely. So I know Oakland is kind of leading, one of the areas in the country that's kind of leading those initiatives. And I have seen other examples that have popped up where the police, where there has been movement in shifting the focus away from the policing to support, and that has been ongoing, and I think it will continue to be an ongoing cause, an initiative, until there's enough political will behind us to do so. But I'm hopeful, I have seen progress, but I do think that we have to continue to push and to advocate for it.
So now also, I mean, of course, because we're supposed to be discussing Black men and mental health, but also I think maybe Arnya went with that question first, because of course it is, and I'm actually, because I was reading a study tonight about how Black women are kind of just stereotyped with Black men. So people are actually kind of missing the fact that Black women are, suffering from just as many injustices at the hands of the police. So, but I don't want to go into that just yet. But my point is that because it is a lot more Black men seen, like a lot of times after these incidents occurred, and we discover like, hey, that person really had mental health issues. So what are some statistics? Because it still seems like Black men, as ironic as it is, like Black men still are not just embracing this whole mental health thing. Like, oh, I really want to go to therapy. Like, what do we need to say, or how is that looking from your perspective? Also, and I like the fact that you are on the West Coast, so you know what the South is like, and I think that you probably can see some difference in the mindsets there. So I kind of wish you just tell us a little bit about that, and also just a little bit about how are things looking thus far? Are Black men stepping up more? Are they actually pursuing therapy and so on?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So just before I go into that, I think I can give you some context about kind of the statistics. So we know overall, and this is all Americans, 1 in 5 Americans either currently or will suffer from mental illness at some point in their lives. And then African Americans in particular are one of the least likely groups to seek and to ultimately complete treatment. And it's not because we don't, necessarily want to, but because of racism, right? Some socioeconomic and environmental factors, distrust in the healthcare system. All those reasons are essentially barriers to accessing treatment, to feeling comfortable, to feeling safe enough to reach out for support when we need it, right? So because of that, we tend to be 20% more likely to be diagnosed with a mental health disorder. And then, however, of that 20% that actually are diagnosed, only about half actually access treatment. And what that looks like, we know that, from a mental health perspective, that sometimes hurt people end up hurting other people, which then further perpetuates.
Right.
Yeah, so it further perpetuates mental health issues in our community, and then continues this perpetual loop, this perpetual cycle of mental health issues that are then possibly passed down from one generation to the next, right?
Right.
So it becomes a part of, the family. It becomes a part of, the relationship, which then kids observe and then pass on and exhibit or demonstrate themselves. So, especially men in particular, I think we are often taught in the way that we're raised to kind of keep our problems close to us out of fear of being labeled or further demonized as inept or weak or inadequate. So all of those reasons. And then when we do access treatment, when we do reach out for help, there's the cultural competency piece where, the clinician, the therapist, the psychologist, again, because there's such a lack of Black and brown folks who are in mental health, that it's oftentimes hard to find, a therapist or someone who you kind of connect with, who you can build a rapport with, who you feel like is safe, and who just gets it without you having to explain everything, and maybe your language and your lingo or your background. So that, can also be another barrier. But to answer your question, I also think now I'm hopeful because I am beginning to see progress in not only, people of color, but men as well, reaching out for support more so. And I think that, it's a combination of several different factors, including just, people being more aware of mental health and, and people being generally more open to it. We're beginning to see it pop up on television shows now. So I know, like on Insecure, Issa and Molly talk about mental health, right? So it's more familiar to us, which makes it seem much more accessible to people, to our communities. So I love that, and I do think that that's making a difference. And I think just over time, as we kind of let go of kind of the negative, the stigma that has been associated with mental health, more so we're becoming much more open. And there also are, more websites that are out there. I know, like Therapy for Black Girls. I recently partnered with Therapy for Black Men, where I'm listed on their directory. And they actually are offering this month free therapy for unemployed and uninsured Black men. So I think, having the resources, the awareness, and then more representation and talking about it in the media have all worked in tandem and in conjunction with each other to ultimately make people much more open to it.
One thing is, I'm sorry, Fancy, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I'm noting some too.
Oh, I was going to say one thing that our audience knows is Fancy and I are very vocal about mental health and our going to therapy. I'm actively in therapy. We're both actively in therapy now,
That's great.
I'm sorry. What'd you do that for?
No, it just hit me because I was like, I actually text my therapist about 4, so I'm like, we still good for Let's make sure, because I think she'd be forgetting my appointments. But I'm like, hey, I ain't nothing wrong, but I just need to talk to you. So yeah, we are very big advocates of therapy.
Very. I lower it down now. I'm just going once a month, but then I'll bring it back up as I need to. And I told her, look, I'm going, if I need you, I know how to find you. And I find that my breaks in therapy, it makes me run back to therapy. If it's just to talk to somebody about just stuff, we find it. But I find, as you said, well, men play this masculine role, and there's never been really a space for them to be vulnerable, until now. Now we're like, we want to know your feelings. We want to know how you feel. We want to know these things. And a lot of them are like, well, I ain't ready to give you all this yet. My nephew, when he lived with me, I knew that he had some things going on, and he had to meet with a psychiatrist in order to be diagnosed with ADHD. And he himself was like 8 or 9, and he himself was like, I'm not talking to that man. And he didn't. He didn't. So it's like from a young age, he was already groomed that you don't talk out. And in the Black households, you don't talk about what's in my house. This is what's in my house. When in actuality, when we release it, and even being able to call a thing, I see a lot of people been posting online the actual villain in the show, but the real villain, was the parent. We're not talking about that emotional abuse from that. We're not talking about how a young lady might be getting mentally abused by her mother, and then she meets a man who does the same thing, and he's not. She hasn't put together that is emotional abuse. Yep. Because mama talked to me stupid and cussed me out, and then she loved on me, but she loved me. Mm-hmm. Thank God my mama never cussed me, but I'm just saying, so how do we break that cycle? How do we call a thing? How do we get to those people who actually need it but won't seek it because of the stereotype, although it's in the media, although different things. I mean, you don't have to tell everybody you go to therapy. I don't care about telling people I go to therapy, but you don't have to tell people therapy. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good question. So how do we kind of break through, the stigma and the stereotype and the generational kind of misunderstanding that we have, especially when it comes to kind of the cultural differences that are associated with our community, and that we like to keep it in the family and without sharing too much. So I think what you guys are doing is perfect. I love that you talk about your own therapy journeys, and I think the more that we talk about it, the more people will become more comfortable with it and more open to that idea. And then also just having the language too. So, if you are learning, nuggets here and there, things that are working from your own therapeutic journeys, dropping some gems every now and then with people, and letting them know that, my therapist actually shared this with me. So making it kind of a part of, table talk, a part of the conversation, and sharing with people that what you're learning has been hopeful, that yes, support from your family and having those conversations with friends and family, that's important too. Having a solid social support system is always important, right? But it also helps to have someone who has some training and some background and expertise in some of the issues that may be presenting themselves. Yeah.
And I always say too, like, because I've had people be like, oh, why you just can't talk to people, like you just said, this person, this is what they're paid to do, and I could sit there for an hour and just talk about me and whatever in the world, like you can barely get people to even listen to you or reply to a text message, you know what I mean? So like to just really have that there. And I think a lot of times, and it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I don't even know why, I just kind of made me think about me and going to the strip club and then being like, I just like to go in there and talk to somebody. Well, you can go talk to a therapist, and you might can even get it on your insurance or something. Because then y'all know, like I have my history there, so I'm like, it just really hit me that a lot of people really would sit in there and tell you their whole life story. So why not go to a therapist, and then actually that's somebody that's under contract because they're strip or not, you know what I mean? So like, hey, I just really wish that Black men would embrace it. I know I just asked someone the other day, and at the time they didn't know that I was in therapy. So their first response was like, basically like, hell no, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. Actually, you would be more attractive to me if you were in therapy. So I know that you're really working on yourself the way you claim, because it seems like men think working on themselves consists of building wealth or whatever, but not really taking the time to say, hey, there are some beliefs and thought systems that I might need to change. And actually, even as you all have been saying, it's about just the black, just kind of like how within the black family, we often have this whole don't discuss our business outside the house. And it made me just in that instance think of two personal, family relationships, whereas I really think these kids might really need to be in therapy. But again, the parent mindset is, oh, we don't talk about this outside the house. I've even asked my son if he'd like to go to therapy, because I know that he and I kind of still struggle with communication. And I think that it would be good for him, to just really sit and talk to someone and get it out with someone. So those are just, just some little nuggets. But also I think even what you're saying, so basically we need to normalize talking about this. And I do see that is happening, because it seems like before, the whole concept of not going, and also Arnya, when you were describing that situation, about like the mom that curses the kids out, or however, mistreats you, and then the man mistreats you, or it could be vice versa, but people, it's become normalized to them, so they then just think that that's how they're supposed to be treated. So, and even what you said, Cyrell, about like learning the languages, like I think that, because I see people picking it up, so I do see some progress within this, but it's still more so the women that's more so pushing it. So I don't know, I just wanted to know that. And I don't know in there, but just you put things out of me when you were speaking. So.
I know when I date guys, I'm open about, I go to therapy. Oh, you go to therapy? What's wrong with you? Nothing now. Nothing right now anyway. But yeah, I go to therapy, and in a marriage, I'm going to want to go to family therapy. I'm going to go to marriage therapy.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And, oftentimes that's another reason why people have been hesitant to reach out for mental health services, is that because they thought that it was an automatic association that, that there's something wrong with you, or that, or that you're crazy, right? But when that isn't the case at all, right? We know that therapy, it works best when it's a part of your daily, or your weekly, monthly routine, right? In the same way that that we encourage people to work out regularly and on a consistent basis, or to get, checkups with your doctor, right?
Right.
Same way. So kind of consistently feeding yourself and providing a space where, it's reliable, where, it's a set appointment each week or each month where you can go and share and process with someone on a regular basis is always best practice. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're in crisis all the time because you're reaching out or because you're receiving support, right? It really should be built into your well-being, to your everyday life, to your lifestyle.
Because you're trying not to go into crisis.
Right. We're trying to, best case scenario is working to prevent, going into a crisis, and to prevent, treating, a negative life event or depression or anxiety. So giving you the tools that you need to navigate those situations and to manage them before they actually happen is always the best case scenario.
I wanted to know that Black Nerd Man had made a comment earlier about like having the health insurance to be able to go, or not being able to afford it. And then I also did note within the comments that you said it was therapy for Black men that's offering the services for Black men who may be unemployed right now, right? For this month only. Okay, so that's in the notes. But the thing was, just when he made that comment, it made me think about how oftentimes, and I'm not saying it's the easiest for women to get healthcare, but especially if you're within a more marginalized community, then there are more benefits, set up. So even if you're pregnant, then you can get, and I'm not always saying that, and I don't know if therapy is always attached, but it seems like it's so hard for Black men in general when they are, down and out or just at a disadvantage, to be able to get any type of assistance. So I think, what do you think that also kind of play a part in that, I don't know, disconnect there, or, them not going to therapy as much?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to some of the systemic barriers that are associated with accessing treatment in an equitable way. So, which is, one of the reasons why what inspired me to develop, the startup that I'm in the process of developing in order to make, treatment and access mental health, both medical and mental health care, much more accessible for folks who need it the most. But it definitely plays a role. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, but, it's pretty common that folks reach out to me that, the financial piece is a concern. So being able to, work with them either through therapy for Black men or using a sliding scale is also another option if insurance doesn't cover it. Right. So that's just, there should always be options and different ways to make it accessible, especially for people who have historically not had equal access to this type of support.
Right. I know that some jobs you can check your EPA. Is it EPA or EAP? Mm-hmm. Something like that. You can check that. My therapist was like, girl, see, so you can get your free services. I was like, girl, I ain't worried about that. Here, I'm gonna give you this $15. And I'm blessed that both of my employers have that program. So, if they're concerned about the mental health, especially now, a lot of employers are offering mental health services. But again, it goes back to those who don't have employment, and I know in Louisiana, they cut a lot of the mental health services and different things, which is not good. It's just mental health.
I know we still have some work left to do in order to make it, to provide the same level of support that medical health care receives or provides for folks. But we're beginning at, we've seen a lot of progress over time, but, we still have a lot of work to do because it shouldn't be, I don't think that finances or whether or not your job covers it or not should ever be a reason why someone can or can't access mental health support and services. So again, I think it goes back to the political will, right, for the government to essentially to supplement and to make this accessible for folks if your job doesn't provide those services for people.
Okay. Anya, did you have any other questions?
So is there a place, like if they can't get therapy for Black men this month and maybe they have they go through something next week, what is some things that they can, I don't know, something that they can possibly do if they just feel like, I might just need to talk to a therapist, but I don't have the access. Is there a site or something that you made that they make it go to? What does that look like? Like, for me, I've therapy for Black women. I've listened to her podcast and it helps, and it works. And being in therapy for so many years, I always just know what to do whenever I need, whenever I'm feeling anxious or feel like I'm going down that road. But is there anything like a safe place for a man? Because there's a difference. Women are always, and no offense, to me, women just seem more open to things more than men. Men are kind of like, and Fancy, you alluded to it too. Like they're kind of like, no, I'm not doing that. But a woman to be like, you know what, that's gonna help me. Let me go. We're more like, let me figure this out. What the hell is wrong with me? Because I'm not living my life like this. Whereas a man would be like, oh, I did the work, but no, you didn't do the work. You thought you did the work. So is there anywhere that you'll just,
Yeah, so a few things come to mind, and I can give, some tips that people can use, like some coping strategies that they can use. And then also, fortunately, the resources are limited out there as far as, other than therapy for Black men, which I'm a part of, therapy for Black girls, that was one of the reasons why I decided to create, my own startup to fill that gap and to meet that need. But I would say, reach out to the people around you as far as, the safe space, right? Again, as men, we tend to want to keep everything to ourselves, especially if we're hurting or in pain or if we need help, right? We try to solve it all on our own. but just encouraging folks to reach out to, people that you trust, to mentors, to older people in your family. If you're a part of a church community, right, reaching out to people in your church. So using your built-in network that you have in order to get the support that you need. If for any reason you can't access, mental health services from a professional. And then also self-care, right? Making that a priority, taking care of yourself and scheduling it into your weekly schedule, hoping ahead, right? If you know that you have, something that's super stressful, a deadline, or, a family member that you know that you'll see in the next week, and you know that based on your history with them that it's, it'll likely be a stressful interaction. Hope ahead by planning in advance, right? What can you do either before or after, that particular event or interaction to de-stress, to calm yourself down, to de-escalate, right? Prayer for folks if you are believers, right? Meditation, mindfulness, it helps. Oftentimes, especially for anxiety. So anxiety is very future oriented, right? It's always stressing about what's the next thing that we have on our list of things to do. What's the next deadline, right? What do I have to do for the next day at work? And depression tends to be very oriented in the past, right? About things that have happened that didn't go well. So mindfulness meditation helps us to be present, right? So if you think about it, we are never really taught to do that. Whether we're, on our jobs or at school, right? It's always about preparing for what's to come. So in order to counteract that, focusing on being here, how your body's feeling right now in this moment in time, and being just aware of your surroundings. That's one way to kind of mitigate both anxiety and depression in that way. And that's something that anyone has access to. Sleep hygiene, right? Being aware of how much sleep you're getting. Is it too much? Is it too little? Eating a balanced diet. So all the things that we know that we should be doing, but oftentimes, when we're stressed out or overwhelmed, all of those things drop down to the bottom of our list of priorities.
One thing I know, I told someone, I said, if I don't get enough sleep and I eat a lot of sugar, it is hell. But whoever, because that mood is, listen, I have to drink my water. Yep.
So, are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to leave us with? I know you said that the app, you're expecting it for it to be out later on in the year, but there any type of way, like is there an email list or something for people to sign up ahead of time and stay in the know, where can they find you at?
So for now, I think, so either my social media, so my Facebook or my Instagram is likely the best way to stay updated. That, my followers will likely be the first group of people to find out about it once we're ready to release it before it goes out to the press. So definitely follow me at Cyrell Roberson. It's just my first and last name on there so that you can be the first one to know about it when we're ready to release it. But I'm excited about it, and I think that it'll be hopeful for a lot of people.
We're gonna have to have you come back on and discuss it when it drops, right?
Absolutely. I will definitely be back to talk a little bit more about it. So.
Oh, we talk about mental health, honey. We and self-care. Glad you said that, because we always talk about ways of self-care and things like that. That's one thing I love about this platform that we have. That this is what we try to focus on, things that we need in the Black community. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. And I'll be back. I'll be back.
All righty. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Take care.
That was good.
Yeah.
That defunding program. Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you about to say?
My question about defunding the police was because I didn't understand it at first, and I was like, oh, so they want mental health, and people be, how people be trying to make a mock of things. They were like, well, yeah, Counselor Show could have helped out in that shootout or something. I'm like, come on now, stop it. So that's why I kind of, when you have something in your mind, you're like, I need to ask that question. That's why.
Oh, because we had talked about it before, and I didn't even know that people because to me it just made a lot of sense. So I really hadn't saw any arguments against it, but now I'm like, okay, so there are actually people that, so I'm kind of glad to know that they're like this informative. But But yeah, I'm just okay. Do I have?
No, I was telling you, clear people. Those are the people who have the argument against it.
Would you say?
Clear people.
Oh,
that's all.
Look, I was so lost. I thought that I was like, okay, is there still a time delay? That's what I thought you were trying to tell. But yeah, that was good. And also, he gave some tips. And also, I just want to note right quick that Shanice also said having relationship intelligence helps as well. So yeah, and I've really just even with her saying this made me think like I've really started to study narcissism more, like, you know, just like the traits and so on. And for almost a year, my best friend had been trying to like, oh, watch this video. And I kept telling her like, no, I don't want to know that because then I won't be able to trust anybody. But I realized like, you know, you need to be aware of stuff so that, you know, you can kind of see, like kind of how you said, identify these situations when you're apart. So it's so many things that we can do on our own, you know, but you just have to really take a minute and just be like, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna look into that. That's something that I need. I do this every time I try to pull up these sponsors now when I'm trying to remove our names. But our second sponsor for the evening is and it's actually a new sponsor. So it is, and I might be saying this incorrectly, but Creative Cavalry LLC. Creative Cavalry LLC was created and established in 2018. The intention of this company and its brand was to be more than just a name. This brand represents the creative prowess of romance author and writer Myra Fleming, her writing style and her creativity. It also has a much deeper business objective. So you all can learn more about Creative Cavalry, Creative CATIVE Cavalry CALFURAY, and her Instagram is at CREATIVE_CALFRAY. So creative_Cavalry. So you all can check her out and just I know she's been doing some collaborations with Deja Vu, who was Deja Vu Skin, who was just on with us last week. So when you see a lot of those romance type of tips or whatever, it's almost like they've been writing like a little romance story that's involving taking a bath or a shower, and Shamira is writing it, and you know Nikki's soap is kind of the inspiration. So you all should check that out. I think it's cute how they're, and you know, playing off of each other's brands and also supporting each other in that sense. So,
well, as always,
also we have our theories and thoughts, never thirsty tumblers are still on sale in the SwagHer Magazine store. If you visit the store on the website.net, then you all will be able to see those there. And they're $35. So we've been, you know, we share this post every week. You can still drop by, purchase one. We like some photos. And then as far as for the magazine itself, we are still offering our Black-owned business directory listing for a year for $90. So that's $30 off because it's $10 a month. But you go ahead on and pay out for the year, then it's just $30. And it's located on the SwagHer site. And I'm not really sharing all our news just yet because I realize I want things to be more in place before I announce them. But I do think this is a great opportunity to take advantage of because we have something else that's going to be following that.
Okay, tonight I am wearing Black Men Make Me Smile. This is not my brand, but you can keep up my brand stuff. Black Men Make Me Smile. I like to wear this out. I live in kind of a mixed area, and I went to Walmart, y'all, and the Black men smile whenever I have it. So I like to, that's a part of mental. They see that they're being supported. They tend to smile a little bit. But you can find me, LadiCEO LLC, on Facebook, at LadiCEO, on Instagram, lady.ceo, and on Twitter, I'm _a_LadiCEO. Remember, I it's not a Y, it's the I. I have LadiCEO Media on YouTube. I also have Miss Thangz Boutique, Miss MZ THANGZBOUTIQUE.com. So it's Miss Thangz Boutique. I have other different shirts. I just wanted to show this one because, you know, we're talking about mental health, and I feel like just support makes you more mentally healthy. So yes, that's all I have. Oh, and a Ladi Her Wine. I debuted a new logo for a Ladi Her Wine today that I absolutely adore. A Ladi Her Wine. Don't forget I sell wine. So that's it. That's all I have. Anything else, Fancy?
I just want to know if anybody is interested in the directory. There's Shanice, who is often like, you know, on in the comments watching the show. You all can get with her. Shanice has been making some sales today, so you know, get with Shanice if you have more interest. Questions or anything about the directory or any other services that the magazine may offer. So I also just want to shout her out because I saw them in the group, and I was like, when I saw something about a gold mine, I was like, okay, but I didn't actually go into it and see. So I just want to take a quick minute and recognize Shanice and all her hard work and for being with us for a while. And yeah, that's basically everything that I know of. So we'll see you all next week. And do we have a topic already? No, we're like, sorry, a week behind. All right, well, bye y'all. Peace and blessings.